Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mode of Social Motivation for the Creative Class. My name is Tim Fulton. I'm your host for this evening. Big thank you to our sponsor, Midwest Photo Exchange. In the audience, welcome. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. Our first up, featured creative of this evening is Mr. Coyote Peterson. Coyote is the host of Animal Adventure series Breaking Trail. Mr. Peterson, how are you?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You look a lot safer than the last time we hung out together.
We have hung out before, as people shall find out. Coyote, you are, first of all, your real name is not Coyote.
It is not. My mother is kind of crazy, but no, she did not naturally name my Coyote.
How did people start calling you Coyote?
Well, my mom, her name actually is Muggsy. That's been like her nickname since she was a tiny kid. And the nickname Coyote came from, we would take vacations out to Arizona every summer, travel across the country most of my childhood. And I used to chase roadrunners around because it was the roadrunners that would chase horned lizards, which was my favorite lizard to catch. So it kind of became, I was the Coyote, like from the Warner Brothers cartoon. She started calling me Coyote. My sister became Beep Beep, which she absolutely hated. But I liked Coyote, and it stuck for a while. Kind of deviated away from it in high school, and then it kind of came full circle to do the show. So.
And so what did you do with that? Tell us about the show.
About the show. Breaking Trail is an animal adventure series. I've got a camera team that follows me into the wild. One of my producers and camera guys, Mark Livens, who's sitting back there, he's one of the brave guys that follows me around. And we get deployed into remote environments, and I track down, get close to, or capture dangerous, interesting, all sorts of animals. If it's an animal, we're going after it, and I'm going to get closer than you probably should, and if I can catch it, I'm going to.
So talk about what the current format, because we'll talk about the exciting developments that you're on the verge of right now. Mm-hmm. What is the standard format of what you would see in the show?
Basically, the simple setup is, here we are, we're launched into a location, here's who I am, here's the animal we're going after, here's the challenges we're going to face within these environments, and then it takes X amount of time, which of course you don't see all that on camera, you cut it down in post-production, to how long it takes for us to actually find this animal, and then the real meat kind of comes out where we get close. Camera guys have to set up, and most of the time it happens so quickly, they got to be on their game immediately because it's like, there's the animal, it's going to take off the second it catches wind of us. So you've got to react really quickly, and hopefully we get the scene. Sometimes I get bit, chomped, stung, you name it, but most of the time we end up getting the animal and talk education, conservation, and then let them go back into the wild.
And we've talked, again, we went out on an adventure maybe like 2 weeks ago at this point, and we talked about this before, but I want sort of talk about what your motivation for doing the actual show is. You could end up being a park ranger or a zoologist, and what you're doing with your work is you majored in film studies. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Majored in film studies, and you were doing other stuff, and then came to this, and you were like, this seems viable as something I can put together.
Right.
Talk about why what you're doing you view as viable and what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, kind of the film background, and that's kind of one of the cool things about being from Columbus as well, because I'm from Ohio originally, Cleveland area, and I live here in Columbus. Went to school at Ohio State, and I went there for film, television, and production. And any of you that know Ohio State are probably saying, well, they don't have film and television production at Ohio State. But the university was crazy enough to let me kind of create my own major. And through that, I really, got into film, screenwriting, wanting to direct, and all that stuff. Started a company out of college and was getting nowhere being in Columbus. Not because Columbus didn't provide me with opportunities, but because the entertainment industry was on the other side of the country. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago this spring that I was out at a park up in Cleveland, and there were these two little boys catching frogs on the side of this pond. And when I was a kid, this is all I was doing. Every single day, playing in the woods, catching frogs, snakes, snapping turtles if I could. And I'm watching these two kids thinking, man, this is just like me and my friends. And their mom was with them, and there was this huge snapping turtle, like 3 or 4 feet right off the side of the bank. And I said, oh, you guys want to see a really big turtle? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be amazing. So I said to their mom, I'm like, is it cool if I jump in here and grab this turtle and show it to your kids? And she looks in the water, she's like, sweetie, that's a rock. I'm like, That's cute. Okay, so you're cool if I jump in there and catch this rock. And she's like, you go right ahead. So I jump in there. I pull out this 40-pound snapping turtle, and she's going, oh, just like losing it. And her kids just absolutely love it. I mean, these boys must have been 7 or 8 years old, and I'm sitting there kind of running off facts to these kids, like, this is why you don't ever want to pick up a snapping turtle, and here's the dangerous parts, it's snapping and the claws are going. And she says to me, she's like, you know what, you should have your own show. I was like, haha, that's cute, maybe. And, let the turtle go, went about my business, and my girlfriend at the time had taken a bunch of pictures of me holding the turtle, and it kind of drew this huge crowd around us. There were probably like 15 people sitting there listening to me talk about this snapping turtle. And I looked at the pictures, came back and showed them to my producers that I was working with in Columbus, and they said, first of all, these things live in Ohio. Second of all, you know how to catch them? I'm like, well, to be honest with you, I know how to catch a lot of animals. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are we writing screenplays when you know how to go out there and catch animals? I'm like, I don't know, because I was Coyote as a little kid, and all the kids in the neighborhood followed me into the swamps, and we caught turtles and frogs. They're like, okay, stop. We got to do something with this right away. So we started developing a show that was originally the Reptile Show. It's now evolved into what's called Breaking Trail. And it's kind of been off and running since then. We decided to build an entire brand, and getting more directly to your question, that the whole reason for doing this was those two little kids that I met that day on the side of that pond. It's for the same reason why I was a kid at 7 and 8 years old. I looked up to people like Jack Hanna, Jeff Corwin, Steve Irwin, but a lot of that was a little beyond my time for when I was 7, 8 years old. I was into Marty Stauffer. I don't know if any of you guys remember Marty Stauffer. He had Wild America that was on like Friday nights. That was kind of more like, yeah, there you go, kind of more like right in my age, that time when I was paying attention to animals and not trying to be an athlete in sports. Obviously, that didn't work out. So, yeah, it's pretty much to create something for kids, a younger generation, to come back out and appreciate animals and want to get outside and take adventures at your local metro parks.
I want to get a little bit to, because you are obviously a creative professional. You're doing work that isn't a creative realm. You and I got to go out and go to Blendon Woods and hunt. Can we call it hunting? If we're,
you can say hunt. There's no killing.
We're going
or
out.
hurting
We're going out to catch.
Animals.
Going out to catch and release snapping turtles. And what I grew up in Columbus and the metro parks and experienced it. And I pulled into the parking lot and you were there and you were like, "Leave your car here. We're gonna go back on this back trail." And I was like, "Oh, you can't do that." And he was like, "Well, I have a permit to do that."
Right.
That you saw an opportunity to go and sort of get something, and I hope you have something else to say about this.
Sure.
Because you had an opportunity to go and get something, and you simply asked permission to do it, and did it. I think a lot of times, I don't know if you have the experience of doing things and having to ask forgiveness later, but a lot of the work that you've done needs the permission of other people, and I think that you've been successful in that. No one's told you no.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yes, we get permission for everything we do. It doesn't matter if we're in Ohio, Arizona, you name it. We always, in the film production world, like that's one of the main things that you always learn first and foremost as a producer, that get permission first. Don't go out and do something and then ask for forgiveness later, because 99% of the time, the people that, if they grant you that forgiveness and don't kind of sue you or whatever it might be for being somewhere that you're not supposed to be, they're probably not going to give you that permission the second time. So we always do our homework first and say, okay, hey, this is what we're going to go out and do. So, we write proposals and pitches and all those sorts of things for every location that we go and film on.
So we're out on this adventure, and what surprised me is we park in a place that it doesn't seem like we're allowed to park, and you open up your trunk and we put on these waders.
Yeah.
And we go out, and you're like, hey, don't disturb the ducks, or because you refer, the geese.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if we frighten the geese, we will not find any snapping turtles today.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the key to finding any animal is, people always ask, oh, you guys get those big trucks and those lights and stuff out there, and that's everybody, any location we ask, we go to, we get permission to go to these places because we are so quiet and so unobtrusive to the environment. The more you disturb stuff, I mean, animals can tell you're coming from miles away. So the quieter you are, the fewer people, the better chance you have of finding anything. So in our instance, when we were out there, I said, Tim, don't chase the geese. He's like, look at those geese. I want to chase those geese.
Okay, he is inferring that I tried to chase the geese. I did not try to chase.
There were so many of them. He's like, oh, I would love to be like one of those dogs that chase the geese. I wanted that experience. I had them in waders, and when you're in waders, it's like this full body suit. You're protected from everything.
And my thought was that scene from The Last Crusade where Sean Connery takes his umbrella and gets all the geese, all the birds to just fly up all at the same time.
That's why I told you to bring the umbrella. No, so there's all these geese. I said, we don't want to scare the geese because what the geese do is they start honking, and I'm not going to repeat what you said we call them because that's usually off camera, but they do their thing, and then they all jump into the water. And the turtles are like, oh, the geese are freaking out. That must mean something is not supposed to be here. So the turtles are like, all right, going to go in the deep water. We know Coyote's coming. So we try to be as quiet as we can. We get into kayaks, and then we set off in the adventure.
First of all, we waded through the lake, which I had never...
Oh, we did do that,
never had the experience of, like, being in waders. Apparently,
And what was that like?
It was awesome, and, like, also frightening. Like, he's in front of me the whole time, like, looking for stuff, so you're murking up the water a little bit.
Yeah, leave you to your own devices. That's
right, so I feel like I can't see anything that's going on, and you're constantly talking about what is frightening that's out there that could get me. We get out into the kayaks, and we're like going around the back way of the lake to the end destination where you believe the breeding is happening.
Yeah. Well, wait, whoa. We got to bring that into perspective. You say breeding, people are like, whoa, wait a minute. How do we get into this? This time of year is when snapping turtles are very actively breeding. This is breeding season for a lot of animals, but the big snapping turtles, the males, go into the shallow water and they fight with each other. It's called sparring. So you can see them like battling it out. It looks like a washing machine cycle. They'll grab onto each other and spin in these circles. It's a crazy thing to see. None of you will probably ever see it because why would you ever be in a swamp to actually see it? But we wanted to go into the shallow water where we might find these turtles.
So we are sort of riding along the edge of the lake, and you are looking for things, and you are standing the whole time. Meanwhile, in the kayak, you are standing in the kayak, and I am in a different kayak, just trying to maintain. Totally.
I wanted you to stand, but it wouldn't have been safe.
Well, and multiple times you say, hey, can you stay a little closer to me because I'm not very confident in your ability to sort of keep upright, and if something happens to you, I don't want to be responsible.
I mean, what I was worried about is that when he would drift a little further away from me, the further from shore, obviously the deeper it is. So if Tim goes over and I'm 20 feet in front of him and his waders start filling up with water, I got to sit down in the kayak. I got to turn around. He's going to be panicking because it's over his head and he's filling up with water. And then I have to like coax him through, coach you, basically be like, Tim, this is what we got to do to get you back in the kayak. And
so I eventually get comfortable with the kayak, and we're in what I believe are still fairly deep waters. And you're standing, and all of a sudden you're like talking about the time that you caught XYZ snapping turtle, and you just jump out.
Yes.
You just jump out of the kayak, and then you come up, and you're holding a dinosaur in your hand.
Yo, yes. We caught Oscar. Oscar is the largest snapping turtle that lives in our metro parks right now. He's only been caught twice. Once I caught him by myself. It took me 4 years to catch this turtle, and Tim was there for the second time. And it was like Christmas for me, which I'm sure you guys are like, this is so nerdy. But yes, for us, it was like, for me, I was like, this is the biggest ever. I was trying to keep it together because, Tim and I don't hang out that often, and I didn't want to seem like a kid in a candy shop that bad. My kayak goes launching in the other direction. I'm stuck in mud that's up to my waist, holding a 40-plus pound turtle, and I'm like, Tim, you got to go get my kayak, man, because it's going all the way down to the far end of the lake. I'm sinking, trying to hold this turtle up.
So this is what I haven't told you. I then am like, I can do this now. I'm comfortable in the kayak. So I go get the kayak, and then I tie it to like my boat, my kayak, and try and go back, and I keep getting stuck on the trees, and he's like, how you doing, man? And I'm like, I'm good.
What's funny is, like, I didn't want to be a jerk because this was his first time on an adventure, a couple of rookie mistakes. But I'm like, it's taking him a long time to get this kayak back. I mean, it should have been a simple row, grab the kayak, pull it back. Meanwhile, I'm trying to fight this enormous turtle, sinking in the mud, you know, sunlight's dropping quickly, and finally though he made it back.
I made it back. We got you know, Oscar up in the boat. We got you up in the boat. We bring Oscar to shore. We measure him.
Yep.
We weigh him. We document him, and then I think it's time to just show him the shit-eating grin on my face.
Yeah, I let Tim held Oscar. Tim is the only other human being to ever hold Oscar besides me. So it's Tim and Oscar.
Hold on. Enter full screen. This is my shit-eating
match made
grin.
in heaven right there.
Holding a dinosaur.
So our show, Breaking Trail, we just signed a multi-year deal with Discovery Network. So Breaking Trail will start to be... thanks. Discovery has a new hub called Discovery Digital Networks, which is kind of merging the world of television and internet. And they have a new channel coming out called Animalist, and will be the first kind of externally produced show for the network, which we're pretty excited about. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to have gone to the locations we've gone to already and have them be like, okay, now we need you to go back to some of those and do the same kind of stuff again. And we're like, In 5 years to build this brand and go out and kind of create all of the test footage. When I say test footage, we created enough to make and release through our sponsors kind of the first unofficial season of Breaking Trail. And that's what then finally caught Discovery's eye to be like, oh, yeah, you guys are catching animals. Okay, we'll put you over here in our digital network world, because it's like the Wild West. I mean, I don't know if anybody in here does film or television stuff or is into that world, but if you want to get your foot in the door somewhere right now, it is definitely the digital network world, because every single network is scrambling to find content, and find content that can be produced for a lower price point than what television can be done for.
So who are these guys that we're looking at here?
On the left, you have Mark, and he's one of my producers and a camera guy. Ugly guy in the middle, that's me. That's Chance Ross. He is kind of my A camera guy and another producer. And then Melissa Feldner, who's also back here. She's like my awesome producer, photographer, fact checker, expert. Everything that I say that's factual mostly comes from Melissa, because I'll say a lot of stuff that's like, you can't say that, and that's not right. Melissa will be right there like, say it like this, and that's how behind the scenes works for making an animal
I
show.
had to do fact checking with her before we got on stage tonight.
So some of the places we filmed already: Costa Rica, Ohio, all of its surrounding states, Arizona, and Florida. And this year we're going back to Florida, Arizona, and Montana. So Montana is our newest location for this year. So, you know, repeating some of these places is cool because you learn a lot. Your first time doing things, you say, okay, this is how we're going to do it differently. This is how we're going to do it better. One of the things that comes to mind that's probably worth noting is the alligator that we caught in the Everglades first time around. I'll never forget the night in my apartment working with the producers saying, I want to catch an alligator this big. And they said, no, you cannot catch an alligator that big. I weigh 150 pounds soaking wet. They're like, you are not catching a 10-foot alligator. But once we got to the Everglades and we caught a 9.5-foot, 300-pound alligator that did bite me and almost bit Mark's face. So it was pretty difficult. But this time around, I'm going to have to catch something bigger. So, you know, we upped that ante, and hopefully it works out okay. So I wanted to be a part of Motive and was so appreciative of you guys inviting me on this, because I think this is such a cool event for people here in our city that are doing awesome creative things. I've been to 2 of these before tonight, and I was so inspired by just the people that would get up here on stage and say, okay, this is the stuff that I'm doing right here in this city. And there's so much creative talent that's stemming out of here. I mean, I've had a struggle trying to do something that's entertainment industry that really is not here in Columbus. You know, and I had to go to California to get a network like Discovery to come in and pick up what this is. But it was the people here in Columbus that supported me and backed me, you know, angel investors, all of my friends who have worked on this for 5 years now to get us to this point. And these are people that are Columbus. And that's the whole not saying no thing that you brought up earlier with the Metro Parks. That is my favorite thing about Columbus, is that nobody ever tells you no. They say, oh, that's cool. How can I help? And that, I think, is probably the greatest thing creatively that comes out of our cities, that everybody wants to be a part of what everybody else is doing.
Thank you.
So should we play some turtle pong? Or?
Can we get a round of applause for Coyote Peterson?